My name is William Sturt McCready, son of John and Elizabeth McCready. I was born in County Down, Ireland, May 27th, 1836. I came to America with my parents in 1850 at the age of 14 years. I immediately worked and helped my parents in making a home here in the town of Troy. Taught school near Dane County until the war broke out, when I enlisted in Company G, 11th Regiment, in September 1861. Monday, the 16th day of September, 1861. I was up early and, to speak truly, somewhat nervous, for on that day I was going to enlist to fight for the Union, and I hoped for the destruction of slavery in the nation. Breakfast was eaten without much conversation. Then came the tender scene of parting from my mother, sister, and from my 4 brothers. My father took me to Spring Green, where I took a train and went to Arena. There I found a company of about 30 men, called the Constitutional Guard, drilling under the command of William H. Brisbane, Jr. I joined the company at once, and I was soon drilling with the others. G is composed of men from Dane, Iowa, Sauk, and Juneau. October 13th, 1861. The Articles of War were read to the men, and when finished, many of the men said if they had known of these rules called the Articles of War, being enforced for the government of the army, they would never have enlisted. Many of the young men thought that army life would be kind of a pleasure excursion for them. They soon found out their error. Wednesday morning, the 20th of November, 1861. We arose at 5 o'clock and soon had tents struck and everything packed up, ready to put on train. Then we ate breakfast. At 8 o'clock we went on board the cars and were soon going at a rapid rate toward Chicago on the Chicago and Northwest Railway. There were the usual scenes when parting from relatives and friends. We were more than 1,000 strong, and all appeared in good spirits. We left Colonel George M. Dodge sick in a hospital, and the train parted, leaving 10 cars standing on the track. The engineer soon found out that he had only a part of the cars attached to his engine. When he returned, a new pin was put in place, and we proceeded without further accident. Monday, December 2nd, 1861. About 2 inches of snow fell and lay on the ground until December 5th, when it all melted. Colonel Harris has returned after 2 days' absence at St. Louis. Private Michael Bender of Company E died of lung fever on Friday night, and he was buried with military honors on Sunday, December 8th. Our chaplain read the Episcopal funeral service for the dead at his grave. This is the first death at our regiment. There would be many more. Thursday, December 19th, 1861. Two men came into our camp today looking for a runaway Negro. They did not find him, for some of our soldiers had ferried him across the Mississippi River into the state of Illinois. An old Negro named Phil visits our camp often. He belongs to an estate awaiting a settlement, and he is to be sold by orders of the Court of Probate as soon as the war is over. Perhaps war will free all the slaves. We expect it will. February 14th, 1862. It is very cold, with about 4 inches of snow on the ground. A battery of steel guns was taken toward Pilot Knob on the railways today. Orders have been received to build 6 new gunboats, a Crowendelt on the Mississippi River, about 10 miles above Kennewick. More prisoners of war are going up the river on steamboats. Great bodies of soldiers and great quantities of war material are now moving on both river and railway. The blockhouses we are building are 25 feet square on the inside and 2 stories high, with 2 rows of portholes for infantry. They will not be quite finished this month. Many of our men are sick with sore throats. The last days of this month are chill as ever. July 7th, 1862. Cache River. We met the enemy, who returned our fire. We had not more than 200 muskets, but our muskets and cannon were soon all employed against the enemy. We were soon fighting in close quarters. One of the rebels, who had been grazed on the side of the head by a bullet, surrendered to me. I took him a few steps to the rear, where I saw Lieutenant Duane of Company I fighting under a tree. He was shot through the shoulder and in his leg. I told the wounded rebel to sit down beside the lieutenant, which he did, and I left him there and returned to my post. Colonel Elliott of the 33rd Illinois was close behind. At this moment, firing was heard at the forks of the road in our rear, and we were ordered to fall back. Lieutenant Patridge with Company G2 was ordered to bring up the cannon, which was done, and almost the whole of the 4 companies in the 11th Wisconsin went back to Hill's house. Where there they found out a company of pioneers had arrived, and saw a company of rebels advance on the road from Clarendon. A few rounds were fired, and rebels fled. Our men then returned to where some yet were fighting. Captain Elliott had posted most of his men, mostly under cover, and was keeping up the fight, when Company G caved the little cannon. Colonel William Hayden of Company D was killed, and Jerome Calkins and myself were wounded. I had received a bullet in my right leg, and we got back as best we could. At one time, when we were firing, kneeling down, a bullet came and cut the fingers off the right hand of Jones. At one time, I saw John Welch with a cloth tied around his leg, and he was still firing at the enemy as briskly as ever. Our companies soon returned, and my company came past me with Private John F. Bradley and A. Wolfe, who were ordered to help me off the field, which they did, and assisted me back to the house of Colonel Hill, which was soon full of wounded. The doctors and the men who are detailed for nurses are doing everything in their power for us. The doctors cannot extract a bullet from my leg without making a very deep cut, which they declined to do. They think the bullet will last, if left alone. Our loss in the battle is 4 killed, 48 wounded. July 8th, 1862. Toward evening, all of the wounded have been put into wagons, and we are moving towards Clarendon, where we will arrive on the 10th. The Army marched for Helena on the Mississippi River today. We are short on supplies. The last rations were issued to the men before marching. It was little more than enough for one day, but it has to last to the 13th, when the Army reaches Helena. Water was very scarce on the line of march. The men were very much exhausted, and the heat was oppressive. Men fought for a drink of water. The Army was almost demoralized. A steamboat was passing Helena when our army arrived here, but they thought that our dust-covered men were rebels, and the captain bailed off to Memphis. July 14th, 1862. The fleet came down from Memphis, and we were soon supplied with the necessary food and clothing. The wounded men in the wagons were much better off than the men who were able to march. Our regiment had marched over 500 miles that summer. Half of our men will never recover from the campaign just ended. Fighting is a small part of a soldier's duties or troubles.